Good morning to everyone. The Committee on Science, Space, and Technology will come to order. Pursuant to notice, the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology meets today to consider the following measure. H.R. 1425, the Creating Jobs Through Small Business Innovation Act of 2011. Before we proceed with the markup, I'd like to have a little homework done here. I'd like to designate the vice chair for each of the subcommittees. Rule 1, subsection F of the committee rules provides that the committee chair designate a majority member of each subcommittee to serve as vice chair of each subcommittee. Pursuant to the rules, I'm pleased to designate the Honorable Lamar Smith of Texas as the vice chair of the subcommittee on space and aeronautics. The Honorable Dana Rohrbacher as the vice chair of the subcommittee on energy and environment. The Honorable Judy Biggert as the sub-chair on the Committee of Technology and Innovation. The Honorable Roscoe Bartlett as the vice chair of the Subcommittee on Research and Science Education. And the Honorable Sandy Adams as the vice chair of the Subcommittee on Investigations and Oversight. I thank each of them in advance for their service. Rosters reflecting these designations are in the drawers in front of you. And now we'll proceed with the markup, beginning with opening statements, and I will begin. Today we're going to we are going to consider H.R. 1425, the Creating Jobs Through Small Business Innovation Act of 2011. This bill was introduced on April the 7th and was marked up by the Technology and Innovation Subcommittee April the 13th. H.R. 1425 authorizes the Small Business Innovation Research, SBIR, and the Small Business Technology Transfer, STTR, programs through fiscal year 2014. These programs play a vital role in expanding innovation and increasing the role of small businesses in federal research and development. Innovations developed through SBIR and STRR grants have in some cases led to rapid expansion, resulting in many new jobs for our nation. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with companies like Qualcomm and Sonicare. These companies are no longer small, but at one point in time they were tiny, and they started to grow thanks in part to the SBIR program. The legislation before us is a compromise and a comprehensive reauthorization of both programs. The bill would increase awards amounts to both the SBIR and STRR programs for Phase 1 and Phase 2 to $150,000 and $1 million, respectively. Enable small businesses that are majority venture capital backed to compete for a limited percentage of SBIR awards and continue to emphasize the importance of commercializing technologies. For the first time, the bill would provide agencies flexibility to use up to 3% of their program funds toward activities relating to outsourced technical assistance, commercializations, program oversight, and quality control. Legislation before us today would also strengthen SBIR and STTR data collection requirements and evaluation measurement criteria. This would improve our ability to conduct effective evaluations of the programs and ensure that we're getting the greatest return on our taxpayer investment. I believe Chairman Brown may also submit an amendment today to improve the detections of fraud, waste, and the abuse in these various programs, and I commend him for working to include these provisions. I'd also like to thank Chairman Quayle for his leadership on this legislation and for shepherding it through the subcommittee. I'd also like to recognize Ranking Member Johnson and Wu, both members, for being original co-sponsors of this legislation. I strongly urge my colleagues to support H.R. 1425, and I now recognize the gentlelady from Texas for an opening statement. Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Today we are marking up H.R. 1425, the Creating Jobs Through Small Business Innovation Act of 2011. I'm pleased to join you, Mr. Hall, as an original co-sponsor of this important legislation and to reauthorize SBIR and the STTR programs. I would like to thank Mr. Wu for his work on this bill. No one in Congress is more committed to SBIR and STTR programs than Mr. Wu. His tireless efforts in support of these programs and in the getting this reauthorization bill enacted is to be admired and respected. And I want to thank you for all that you have done to get us to this point, Mr. Wu. Mr. Chairman, this is a good piece of legislation, and I'm confident that the bill we have before us today is a better bill because it benefited from the bipartisan input in its development. We all recognize the important role that small businesses play in fueling technological innovation and creating jobs in the United States. That being the case, we should be doing what we can to foster a vibrant small business community and give our small businesses the tools that they need to succeed. The SBIR and STTR programs are such tools. They have been critically important programs for fostering innovation by small businesses. As we continue our efforts to keep our economy on the path to recovery, it is more important than ever that we recommit ourselves to these programs and get a comprehensive reauthorization bill enacted. As I've noted, I support this bill. It includes many good provisions that I believe are necessary and important and that will make the SBIR and STTR programs more efficient and effective. The bill also takes great strides to modernize the programs, making them more responsive to the ever-changing high-tech sector and the demands of the global economy. That being said, there is definitely room for improvement. For example, this bill falls short to include any formal outreach programs for women and minority-owned small businesses. This is despite the fact that increasing participation is one of the stated goals of the program and one which the National Academy has found is decidedly a mixed track record. It is irresponsible for us to ignore this issue. The bill should include a meaningful provision that will give the agencies the tools and resources they need to conduct the outreach and technical assistance that is necessary to meet this challenge. I will be offering an amendment along with Congresswoman Wilson later this morning to rectify the situation. I hope it will be accepted. I know that some of our colleagues have other good amendments to strengthen and improve the bill, and I hope they will be supported. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, again, and I look forward to working with you to get this bill to the House floor as soon as possible, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, gentlelady. Without objection, all members' opening statements will be placed in the record at this point. And we'll now consider the bill, H.R. 1425, the Creating Jobs Through Small Business Innovation Act of 2011. Without objection, I ask unanimous consent that the bill is considered as read and open to amendment at any point, and that members proceed with amendments in the order listed on the roster. And it's so ordered. Are there any amendments to the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
First amendment on the roster is offered by Mr. Wu. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 010, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Wu of Oregon.
I ask unanimous consent that the amendment be considered as read.
Without objection, I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, I think it's so ordered, and I recognize the gentleman or the gentlelady for 5 minutes to explain this. Respect you, Mr. Wu. Recognize you for 5 minutes at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you and Chairman Quayle for your work on this legislation, and thank Ms. Johnson for her leadership and work on this legislation. And Ms. Johnson, thank you specifically for your very kind and generous remarks about my labor for the last 5 years on this legislation. And it's in the spirit of that 5-year push that I offer my amendment to extend the authorization period from 3 years to 5 years. I think that some of us have been in that funny place in restaurants where it sometimes takes longer for someone to describe, for the server to describe in great detail the benefits or the spectacular nature of a particular dish, longer than it takes to actually eat the meal. And in this instance, I've been working on a reauthorization for 5 years, and we have a 3-year reauthorization period, which kind of makes me feel like I'm in one of those restaurants. I think that there is a much more substantive reason to extend the reauthorization period, and that is that the National Research Council report looking at this legislation and making recommendations on it will be due in 4 years. And a reauthorization at the 5-year mark would permit us to take that report into consideration when we do the next reauthorization and do that rather than, if you will, fly by the seat of the pants and do the reauthorization in 3 years. In addition, a second strong reason for pushing the reauthorization out by another couple of years is because of the need for certainty by applicants for both Phase 1 and Phase 2 awards. I also note that the Senate reauthorization period is currently in their bill at 8 years. That is down from a 14-year reauthorization period, which they passed in the last 2 Congresses, and they're coming down toward a reasonable period. In my view, a reasonable 5 or 6 year period, and we have gone up from the 2-year period that that the House bill had in it in the last Congress, and we're currently at 3 years, in an increase for which I am grateful and I think is commendable. I do think that a 5-year period is a more useful period, and one that will indeed, in all likelihood, be closer to what House and Senate ultimately agree to. And for all those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I urge adoption of this amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Wu, and I thank you for the amendment. I think we debated this in subcommittee. I believe it was voted down in subcommittee. And I think the 3-year authorization currently provided by H.R. 1425 is appropriate. It provides a reasonable amount of time to pass, but ensures Congress is going to keep an eye on some of the changes we're considering right today. I'd like to have the opportunity to consider how these languages have impacted the program 3 years from now instead of 5. For these reasons, I oppose Mr. Wu's amendment.
Mr. Chairman, if you could yield to me just for 1 second.
I would yield to the gentleman more than 1 second.
I just want to point out that I did not ask for my amendment to be voted down in the subcommittee, and I was saving that moment for today.
Well, Chair recognizes that. Chair made his own observation at the subcommittee, and I think the vote was not there, and you showed good judgment at that time. I would like you to exercise that same judgment now and pull it down, but you don't have to. Is there further discussion? All right. Then if the vote occurs on the amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. It's my opinion that the noes have it. The amendment's not agreed to.
Mr. Chairman, today I do ask for a recorded vote on this amendment.
All right, gentlemen, ask for a recorded vote. Clerk will call the roll.
Chairman Hall.
No.
Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith votes no. Mr. Roybacher. Mr. Roybacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett votes no. Mr. Lucas. Mrs. Biggert. Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken. Mr. Nagelbauer. Mr. McCall. Mr. Brown. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams vote no. Mr. Quayle. Mr. Quayle vote no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman vote no. Mr. Ridgel. Mr. Ridgel votes no. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks votes no. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Holtgren. Mr. Kravac. Mr. Kravac votes no. Mr. Bouchon. Mr. Benishek. Mr. Benishek votes no. Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Costello. Ms. Woolsey. Ms. Lofgren. Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu votes aye. Mr. Miller. Mr. Lipinski. Ms. Giffords. Ms. Edwards. Ms. Edwards votes aye. Ms. Fudge. Mr. Lujan. Mr. Lujan votes aye. Mr. Tonko. Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney. Mr. McNerney votes aye. Mr. Sarbanes. Ms. Sewell. Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson votes aye. Mr. Clark.
Are there others who wish to vote?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recorded as a no.
Mr. McCall votes no.
Mr. Costello.
Mr. Costello votes aye.
All right, the clerk shall report the vote.
Mr. Chairman, 8 members vote aye and 15 members vote no.
This amendment is not agreed to.
Ms.
And on this vote, there are 8 ayes, 15 noes. Amendment is not agreed to. You want to be recognized, Ms. Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just simply wanted to say that a 5-year authorization I thought was appropriate because under the bill, the next phase of the National Research Council evaluation of the program is due in 4 years after enactment. And this ends in 3 years, so it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. But providing for the 5 years will allow us to take the evaluation into consideration when we sit down for reauthorization again. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Fine. We'll take note of that, and we did have a roll call vote, so we'll put your statements in their proper position, and thank you for them. Are there any other amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
What purpose does the gentleman seek recognition? Amendment. The next amendment is offered by the gentleman from Oregon. Mr. Wu, you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, sir, I am.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 011, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Wu of Oregon.
Ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading without objection. It's so ordered. Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am offering this amendment to increase award size across the board, and in a moment I want to enter into discussion with the majority and with the chairman for the specific reason of, or for the reason to specifically identify the National Institutes of Health as the one agency where it might be especially appropriate to have a different award size and to propose something that we can take between here and the House floor so that we can enter into a discussion with the Senate later on. Because if we pass the award sizes as we do, it would badly infringe on what the NIH is currently doing. As drafted, my amendment raises the award level from $1 million to $1.5 million. The reason why my amendment is so important for the current legislation is that, whether correct or not, the SBA has interpreted the caps in the prior legislation as guidelines and not as hard caps. We made clear in this legislation that these are hard caps, and there's $1 million cap in the existing bill with a 50% potential increase to be determined by the agency. My amendment would take it to $1.5 million with a 50% increase as interpreted by the agency. This means that for Phase 2, it would, the hard cap at most would be $2.25 million, and for Phase 1, the hard cap would be $225,000. Now, I feel that these are appropriate award levels for all the agencies. But for purposes of discussion today, I'm willing to leave that I'm willing to leave that behind, and I want to specifically identify the National Institutes of Health as an agency where we need to work with them on their judgment of what the award sizes ought to be. They have specific expertise in their area, health and biologics and pharmaceuticals. And the information, the data which I got within the last 24 hours is that at the Phase 1 award level of $225,000, fully 42% of the awards that they're currently giving would exceed that amount. And if we have a hard cap in our bill, which we do, then 42% of what they're awarding would be eliminated and have to be brought down to the $225,000 level. Even at a $450,000 Phase 1 award level, almost 15% of what they're currently awarding exceeds that amount. Now, I think that these numbers, we should look further into these numbers between now and the time that the bill hits the House floor and determine whether, as best as we can legislatively, for legislative information, whether the NIH is appropriately awarding Phase 1 awards this high. By the way, they award Phase 2 awards quite high also. But we should be setting a different cap level for NIH, and the only question is how high it should be, probably different from other agencies. They are doing a good job of spinning off biologics and pharmaceuticals and other healthcare and basic biological technologies. We don't want to inhibit that. The two reasons why we should consider this seriously and have a different number in the House bill are that for the first time, we have a hard cap in this legislation. The SBA will not be able to interpret around this. I believe in that. But the second reason is that the Senate bill has the same numbers that we do in the current draft of our bill. We will not have a conferenceable issue if we have the exact same numbers. To be able to solve this problem in conference or before, we have to have a different number. And Mr. Chairman, I would like to work with you and the majority to make sure that NIH is protected in its program in an appropriate way going forward. And that is the modified goal of my amendment, is I'm willing to work with the majority on all the other agencies living within the caps as currently proposed in the House and Senate bills.
All right, gentleman's time has expired, and I thank the gentleman for his amendment. And I understand and do really believe it's the gentleman's intent to ensure that the best research is funded is genuine. I also recognize that NIH has funded a number of projects that exceed the new caps in the legislation, as he has pointed out. However, I think that changing the award size would have a negative implication for the SBIR and STTR programs. Actually, the National Research Council recommended setting the Phase 2 award guideline at $1 million because this strikes a proper balance between providing adequate funding and ensuring broad participation in the program. I do oppose the gentleman's amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same. However, it's not all that bad. If Mr. Wu would maybe, if I could suggest that he withdraw the amendment and ask that we work together on this amendment before the floor, I would probably agree. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure the best way to go about this, whether we single out NIH or find another means to accommodate that agency, but I'm willing to work on it. Are there others who would like to be heard or would like to recognize Mr. Wu for his feelings about it, or do you want to go on and take the vote now? What would you like to do, Mr. Wood?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the path that you have laid out is more than generous. I'd like to withdraw the amendment. I have racked my brain as to the best way to do a carve-out or some other way to handle NIH in the last 24 or 36 hours. I think we need more time and more information, and I look forward to working with you and all the other members of the committee so that we can do something appropriate, and I do mean appropriate for NIH.
Actually, I thank the gentleman. I know of the time and the work he's put in on this, his sincerity on it. I think it probably can be worked out. The gentleman withdraws his amendment. Let's see, are there other amendments?
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do you have an amendment at the
Yes,
desk?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
All right. The next amendment is offered by the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tonko. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment, sir?
I am, Mr. Chair.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 026, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Tonko of New York.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. Recognize Mr. Tonko on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since its inception in 1982, the SBIR program has proven to be one of the most successful federal programs for technological innovation in United States history, delivering more than 60,000 patents and hundreds of valuable innovations in agriculture, defense, energy, health sciences, homeland security, space, transportation, and other fields. The National Research Council of the National Academy's 2007 report, an assessment of the Small Business Innovation Research Program, states, and I quote, "The SBIR program is sound in concept and effective in practice." The SBIR program has created a competitive entrepreneurial environment in which small, independently owned businesses can compete and strengthen America's high-tech economy. While reauthorization of the SBIR program is of the utmost importance, certain changes to the current SBIR program contained in today's bill could, in my opinion, negatively affect several small businesses in our districts by stacking the competition against them with larger companies, which historically have not been the focus of this innovative program. The first issue I'm concerned with in today's bill is in Section 105. The current version of the bill eliminates one of the best tools the program has to make sure we are using the taxpayers' money the best way possible. Many members of this committee continue to express concern as to how we use federal funds when it comes to research and development programs. I share that concern, but the way the current bill is written, we are creating a loophole that could waste time and resources for applicants and the agencies. Allowing applicants to skip Phase 1 awards and go straight to Phase 2 awards should be a cause for concern. In a time when both our government and private businesses are being forced to do more with less, we should be making sure that the process for awards does not waste time and resources of the small innovator or the agencies. My amendment addresses this concern by striking the language that creates this loophole. A fundamental premise of the SBIR program and a main reason for its success is that it has been structured to invest modestly to explore ideas and allow the winners to emerge. The Phase 1 step with modest funding is critical to the concept, allowing only the strongest ideas to survive and advance. Jumping directly to making large awards would squeeze out many innovative ideas that are in need of exploration while concentrating on a few that may not pan out. Therefore, the most important issue in preserving the integrity of the SBIR program is to require a Phase 1 investment before jumping to Phase 2. Phase 1 of this program is a rigorous process involving more than one level of review by staff. A rigorous Phase 1 application enables the concept to be properly vetted for relevancy to the SBIR program and the agency. We should be encouraging this type of selection process and not allowing it to be simply passed by. This is an amendment that is simple and straightforward. It strikes the language that allows applicants to skip Phase 1, and I urge members of our committee to support this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back his time. I thank the gentleman for his amendment. I understand the arguments to both sides of this amendment and the importance to maintain the integrity of the program and encourage greater small business participation, but I hate to vote in the face of the National Research Council recommending against allowing companies to apply directly for Phase 2 awards. Indeed, allowing the companies to apply directly for Phase 2 awards can significantly shift the balance of both awards and funding from phase one to phase two. This might crowd out small startup businesses that can't compete directly for phase two projects. If a company has already conducted the work equivalent to phase one on the other side, why should the government pay for this work? Again, I understand the arguments on both sides, but I have a hard time supporting this. I'll be opposing the amendment because I believe it's important to prevent wasteful spending on duplicative projects and to fund the most promising research with the greatest potential for commercialization, and to line up with the National Research Council. I will oppose, and I thank the gentleman for his amendment. Is there further discussion on the amendment? All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Mr. Wu, recognize you for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I want to recognize that Mr. Tonko has worked very hard on developing his expertise in this legislation and has many thoughtful amendments to propose today. I do reluctantly oppose this amendment for one of the reasons that the Chairman cited, which was that the intent when we wrote this provision into the legislation was that if the private sector has already performed the phase one work, there is no need for the public sector, for the taxpayer, to jump in and fund a repeat of that work. And it is a step to save money for the taxpayer. And in this regard, Mr. Chairman, I'm with you in that the NRC is advisory to us, but ultimately we draw the lines, and I think we need to take responsibility for that. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak for a moment. I have tremendous respect for the gentleman from New York's work on this legislation.
Gentlemen, time has expired, and I want to thank the member for the amendment. Is there further discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, if I might just ask for further clarification on, you're citing the Academy's 2007 report, and I believe that they recommended not skipping over phase one. They thought that it was a critical part of especially the vetting process.
Is there other discussion? Okay, hearing no further discussion, the vote will occur on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Those opposed say no.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
May I have a recorded vote, please?
Gentleman asked for a recorded vote. All in recorded votes called for. Will the clerk call a roll?
Chairman Hall.
No.
Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith votes no. Mr. Roybacher. Mr. Roybacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett votes no. Mr. Lucas. Mrs. Biggert. Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken. Mr. Nagelbauer. Mr. McCall. Mr. McCall votes no. Mr. Brown. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams votes no. Mr. Quayle. Mr. Quayle votes no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman votes no. Mr. Ridgel. Mr. Ridgel votes aye. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks votes no. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Holtgren. Mr. Kravac. Mr. Kravac votes no. Mr. Bouchon. Mr. Benishek. Mr. Benishek votes no. Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson votes aye. Mr. Costello. Miss Woolsey. Miss Lofgren. Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu votes no. Mr. Miller. Mr. Lipinski. Mr. Lipinski votes no. Miss Giffords. Miss Edwards. Miss Edwards votes aye. Miss Fudge. Mr. Lujan. Mr. Lujan votes aye. Mr. Tonko?
Aye.
Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney?
No.
Mr. McNerney votes no. Mr. Sarbanes? Mr. Sarbanes votes no. Ms. Sewell? Yes. Ms. Sewell votes aye. Ms. Wilson? Ms. Wilson votes aye. Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark votes aye.
Are there other members who wish to vote? Are there other members who wish to change their vote? The chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois.
Costello votes aye.
Mr. Costello votes aye.
Are there others? Mr. Bouchon?
Mr. Bouchon is not recorded. Mr. Bouchon votes no.
Are there other members who wish to change their vote? All right, clerk will report the vote.
Mr. Chairman, 9 members vote aye and 19 members vote no.
On this vote, there were 9 ayes and 19 noes. The amendment is not agreed to. Excuse me. Are there other amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Our next amendment is offered from the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. Wu. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. Clerk will report the
Amendment number 009, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Wu of Oregon.
All right, ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. And gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As drafted, the current legislation permits one level of majority venture capital-backed companies to participate in the SBIR program, and for 3 agencies, the NIH, the NSF, and the the NIH, the NSF, and the DOE to participate at 45% for venture capital majority-owned companies. My amendment would add NASA as the 4th agency to be permitted to have majority venture capital-owned companies at this higher level. I believe that this is appropriate, and I believe that this is where NASA and the National Space Initiative want to go and ought to go. As you know, Mr. Chairman, and also the ranking member, NASA is winding down a significant amount of its workforce as we transition from one form of human spaceflight, hopefully, to another. As this wind down is occurring, at a number of NASA sites around the country, there have been incubators created, and there are strong efforts, sometimes on behalf by NASA, frequently by state agencies, to encourage small spin-outs from NASA based on NASA technology. I think that we ought to encourage such efforts, not just as an effort to create high-wage private sector jobs, but also as a way of maximizing technology and maximizing innovation and helping our space program achieve its objectives. By permitting a higher level of majority venture capital-owned companies to participate, I believe that we promote innovation, we promote jobs, and also it saves the taxpayers some expenses when venture capitalists do, if you will, some of the due diligence that would otherwise have to be done by public agencies. It is entirely appropriate that NASA, as one of the lead science agencies of our nation, also be included with the Department of Energy, NIH, and NSF so that we can take larger steps toward an innovation economy and also one that maximizes our participation in space. And for all those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I urge adoption of the amendment and yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back his time, and I thank the ranking member, Technology and Innovation Subcommittee, for his amendment. I agree that we should add NASA to the list of federal agencies that may provide up to 45% of award funding to firms that have majority venture capital backing. This amendment has the potential, I believe, to increase the quality of applications NASA receives, which could lead to better research and development. I support the amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same. All right. Is there further discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman?
I recognize Mrs. Edwards, gentlelady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Maryland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not so much concerned with this amendment that it would add NASA to the list of agencies. I am concerned, as reflected in Mr. Tonko's amendment, the next one that we'll consider, about the percentage. In Prince George's and Montgomery County, in the 4th Congressional District, particularly in Montgomery County, we are home to some of the most nimble, agile, but also small biotech firms. And what happens is that with the 45% award, the 45% level, that many of those firms that are smaller firms, that are more nimble, that hire an awful lot of people, they don't really get the same kind of capacity. And I actually think that you know, particularly for an agency like NASA, to encourage the greater participation of our smaller businesses, our women-owned businesses, our minority and veteran-owned businesses, that, you know, indeed that threshold level at 45% really screens them out. And so my concern is not so much that, you know, that NASA isn't a full participant in SBIR, but that the 45% level, I think, does great harm to some of our smaller and more nimble companies. And with that, I yield.
The gentlelady yields back her time. I would only say to that, the percentage is a ceiling, it's not a floor. And I suggest you talk with the author, who may have some concessions to make that might solve the problems that you have representing your district, as you do very well. Is there further discussion to the amendment? All right, hearing no further discussion, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to. I've changed my mind on that. The amendment's agreed to since I've been elbowed here. And remember, I turned 88 years old yesterday. All right. Are there other amendments? All right. The next amendment's offered by the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tonko. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
I am, Mr. Chairman, and happy birthday.
Thank you. The clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 027, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Tonko of New York.
Ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Chair recognizes the gentleman for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you. My second amendment is, again, designed to make sure we do not drastically change the fundamental purpose of this program. Although I understand the important role venture capital or a VC firm continues to play in the SBIR program, I find it more important to retain the SBIR's historic and proven focus on truly small business. At a time when our national unemployment is near 9%, we should be promoting any policy we can that creates jobs, especially jobs that strengthen our small business community, the backbone of our economy and a source of 70% of new jobs in our country. My amendment does just that. My amendment reduces the allocation limits for majority-owned VC companies to 25% and 15% respectively. This is consistent with the Senate language and allows the program to better target the intended small businesses for which this program was originally designed. VCs already see significant benefits from the SBIR program in its present form because it is used as a vetting process for their investment decisions to reduce risk. VC investment firms have historically invested in 1 to 3% of all the business plans that they review, and those are the ones they believe could produce revenue within fewer than 3 years. So the SBIR program has historically been aimed at true innovation, those bold plans and ideas that are just too risky for VC funding but are potentially game changers. It is that spirit and tradition that has provided the underpinnings of success for this program to date, and in that tradition that we should continue. By lowering the allocation levels, we will enable the program to continue to be successful in meeting the goals that Congress has set out for to be met. I urge members of our committee to support this amendment, and I yield back, Mr. Chair, the balance of my time.
I thank the gentleman for yielding back, and I thank the gentleman for his amendment. And while I recognize the gentleman's desire to limit the amount of funding that goes to majority of venture capital-backed firms, I believe it's more important to give agencies the flexibility to award funding for the best applications, and actually that's what this bill does. The bill enables a greater number of small businesses to compete for SBIR and STR awards while ensuring that a majority of awards go to small businesses that don't have majority venture capital backing. For that reason, I oppose the gentleman's amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same. All right, are there other members who wish to discuss the proceeds? Yes, Chair, recognize the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with you that I'm going to oppose this amendment. And during our hearings, we had a number of different people, definitely small businesses and academics, who actually have voiced that the VCs actually play a pivotal role in actually weeding out some of the potential commercialized successes in the small businesses. And this is, as we've said before, is a ceiling and not a floor. And I believe that the VCs actually will have the better expertise to determine whether a company at those stages will be able to be successful in the future. And it also still does make sure that small businesses that are not VC-backed get the majority of the funding. So I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment. And I yield back the balance.
Gentleman yields back. Are there other members who wish to discuss the amendment?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Wu is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Chairman Quayle for his fine work, and it's been a pleasure to work with you on this legislation. And both for Chairman Quayle and Chairman Hall, you're advocating a position that I have advocated in the past, and I want to recognize that and also say that when I have pushed for this, it is as an aspiration, because I hope that there are more venture-funded companies. In my view, they tend to be small companies that have to give away more of their equity. They have to give away a higher percentage because they are small, and that a lot of the advocates before this committee have it exactly wrong when they are concerned that bigger businesses will be venture funded. I disagree. I think they're smaller businesses. That being said, I also want to recognize that the statistics strongly indicate that none of the agencies would be affected by the current caps of the proposed caps of 15% and 25%. So if we set those caps at those levels today, it would, in essence, not have effect on the applicant pool. That's one reason. And the second reason is that we have negotiated this for 5 years, and it's high time to get it done. And I think that the caps, as proposed last year at 15 and 25%, and is currently set in the Senate bill at 15 and 25%, are probably what we can get done at this point. And while I share with the chairman of the full committee, the chairman of the subcommittee, their aspirations for higher participation by venture capital, I just very much want to get this bill done, and for those two reasons, I intend to support the gentleman from New York's amendment to set the caps at 15 and 25%. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back his time. Are there others who wish to discuss the amendment? All right, hearing no further discussion, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Yes.
And ask for a recorded vote, please.
Gentleman asked for a recorded vote. The recorded vote will be held. Clerk will please call the roll at this time.
Chairman Hall. Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith votes no. Mr. Roybacher. Mr. Roybacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett votes no. Mr. Lucas. Mrs. Biggert. Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken. Mr. Nagelbauer. Mr. McCall. Mr. McCall votes no. Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown votes no. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams votes no. Mr. Quayle. Mr. Quayle votes no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman votes no. Mr. Ridgel. Mr. Ridgel votes no. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks votes no. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Hultgren. Mr. Kravac. Mr. Kravac votes no. Mr. Bouchon. Mr. Bouchon votes no. Mr. Benishek. Mr. Benishek votes aye. Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson votes no. Mr. Costello. Mr. Costello votes aye. Ms. Woolsey. Ms. Lofgren. Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu votes aye. Mr. Miller. Mr. Lipinski. Mr. Lipinski votes aye. Mrs. Giffords. Mrs. Edwards. Mrs. Edwards votes aye. Mrs. Fudge. Mr. Lujan.
No.
Mr. Lujan votes no. Mr. Tonko.
Aye.
Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney.
No.
Mr. McNerney votes no. Mr. Sarbanes. Mr. Sarbanes votes aye. Ms. Sewell. Miss Wilson. Ms. Wilson votes no. Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark votes no.
Are there other members who wish to vote? Are there any members who wish to change their vote? Okay, clerk shall report the vote.
Mr. Chairman, 7 members vote aye and 21 members vote no.
All right, the amendment is not agreed to. Are there other amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
What purpose? You have an amendment at the desk. The next amendment is offered by the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tonko. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment, sir?
I am, sir.
All right, clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 030, amendment to H.R. 1425 offered by Mr. Tonko of New York.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. Recognize the gentleman on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 107, as currently written, again, would make drastic changes to a program that at its core is an innovation program for small business. In its current format, Section 107 would open the SBIR program to businesses that are majority backed by venture capital, hedge funds, and private equity firms with large holdings in employees and market share. This opening up of the program, which is funded by taxpayers, could potentially crowd out small businesses most in need of funding for their innovative work. I have a concern that the current language does not accurately reflect the way most companies use funding from VCs. We all know that one VC firm and others hardly ever make an investment of 50% or more into a single company. One rarely sees a single VC firm control more than a 50% stake in one company. However, what you will see is multiple VC firms taking positions of 10 to 20% each, which when you total them could equal 70, 80, or 90% ownership of a single company. Under the current language, that is acceptable. I would argue that if the intent of this bill is to let VC-supported companies have access to their program, but still allow the founders of the company to have control of their company, then we should draft the language in a way that accurately defines how these types of firms work and have ownership in small companies. My amendment addresses these concerns by saying that the total amount of ownership of a company by VCs, hedge funds, or equity firms cannot go beyond 50%. I believe this amendment gives the founders of the small business more bargaining power against private sources of funding like VCs. According to my own constituents, having the current limit on VCs in the SBIR program has been one of the best tools to keep VCs from immediately seizing more than 50% of that given company. I urge members of our committee to support this pro-small business amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time, Mr. Chair.
Gentleman yields back his time, and I thank the gentleman for his amendment. Actually, I disagree with the gentleman's amendment because, for one thing, it would prevent any majority venture capital-backed firm from competing for SBIR and STTR awards. H.R. 1425 enables majority venture capital-backed firms to compete for a limited percentage of awards, which will increase, I think, the potential pool of applicants and may result in stronger proposals. I oppose the gentleman's amendment and strongly urge my colleagues to do the same. And I want to thank the member for his amendment. Is there further discussion of the amendment? All right, hearing no further discussion, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Apparently, in my opinion, the noes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to. Are there other amendments?
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
The next gentleman is offered by the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tonko. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 028, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Tonko of New York.
I ask the unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. Recognize the gentleman on his committee, on his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this amendment is to protect the program from being open to foreign-owned VC, hedge funds, and equity firms. My amendment simply prevents foreign-owned firms from participating in the program. We should be doing everything we can to encourage American businesses and American investments into an American bit of ideas and technologies. After all, we must continue to strive to make it in America. We should not be subsidizing foreign capital and outside governments to use federal resources to develop an idea, then run back to their company of origin to commercialize that product. With limited resources, we must prioritize American businesses and American growth above foreign-owned companies. This language matches the Senate bill and makes sure that the program is targeted at keeping American innovation here at home. I urge members of the committee to support this amendment and yield back the balance of my time, Mr. Chair.
I thank the gentleman. I have some concerns about the gentleman's amendment. First, the bill already prevents businesses with more than 500 employees participating in the SBIR and the STTR programs. Second, the companies have to have at least 51% U.S. ownership to participate in the SBIR and STTR programs based on existing SBA regulations. And finally, I'm concerned that the amendment would prevent small businesses from competing for SBIR awards if they're partially owned by a large business, even if the ownership stakes were minuscule. Again, I have some concerns about this amendment. Would the gentleman clarify his intent with the amendment?
Basically, it's to make certain that American investments are given the priority here and that we do not allow to go forward with the foreign investments that might be made from foreign-owned VC firms.
All right, I thank the gentleman. We think that's already covered. I'll be opposing the amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same. Are there others who wish to be recognized?
Mr. Chairman?
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just had a question. The point that the gentleman makes, I think, is an important one, and there seems to be some, at least, lack of clarity on whether foreign ownership is allowed or not, and it would help me to make a better decision if I fully understood the issue. So if either, Mr. Chairman, if you could or the gentleman who presented the bill the amendment could provide clarification on that, I would be much appreciated on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank Mr. Ridgell. I would recognize anyone who wants to give further clarification on the bill. Hearing none, is there are the others to discuss the amendment? Hearing no further discussion, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The noes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to.
Chairman, I request a recorded vote.
Gentleman requests a recorded vote. Clerk will call a roll.
Chairman Hall.
No.
Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Sensenbrenner votes no. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith votes no. Mr. Roybacher. Mr. Roybacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett votes no. Mr. Lucas? Mrs. Biggert? Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken? Mr. Nagelbauer? Mr. McCall? Mr. McCall votes no. Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown votes no. Mrs. Adams? Mrs. Adams votes no. Mr. Quayle? Mr. Quayle votes no. Mr. Fleischman? Mr. Fleischman votes no. Mr. Ridgel? Mr. Ridgel votes no. Mr. Palazzo? Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks? Mr. Brooks votes no. Mr. Harris? Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Holtgren? Mr. Kravac? Mr. Kravac votes no. Mr. Bouchon? Mr. Bouchon votes no. Mr. Benishek? Mr. Benishek votes no. Ms. Johnson? Ms. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Costello? Mr. Costello votes aye. Ms. Woolsey? Ms. Lofgren? Mr. Wu? Mr. Wu votes aye. Mr. Miller? Mr. Lipinski? Mr. Lipinski votes aye. Ms. Giffords? Ms. Edwards? Ms. Edwards votes aye. Ms. Fudge? Mr. Lujan?
Aye.
Mr. Lujan votes aye. Mr. Tonko?
Aye.
Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney? No. Mr. McNerney votes no. Mr. Sarbanes? Mr. Sarbanes votes aye. Ms. Sewell? Ms. Wilson? Ms. Wilson votes aye. Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark votes aye.
Come on, give me something. She types. What? Clerk reports the
Mr. Chairman, 10 members vote aye and 19 members vote no.
All right. Amendment is not agreed to. Are there further amendments?
Mr. Chairman,
Gentleman from Mr. Smith, from Texas.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
All right, the next amendment is offered by the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Smith. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 018, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Smith of Texas.
All right, I ask for unanimous consent to dispense with the reading without objection. It's so ordered. Gentleman recognized for 5 minutes on this amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is a direct result of concerns raised by one of my constituents during a town meeting a couple of months ago. Maybe this is how democracy is supposed to work. A Department of Energy laboratory required his small business to pay them 90 days up front for a joint research project under a Work for Others agreement. For example, if a small business enters into a Work for Others agreement with an Energy Department laboratory for a 12-month effort valued at $240,000, the small business could be required to pay $60,000 in advance to meet the 90-day requirement. This rule creates a difficult cash flow situation for typical small businesses and makes it harder for them to partner with the national laboratories to bring new technologies into the marketplace. I wrote the Department of Energy on behalf of my constituent to ask them to re-examine this 90-day policy, and they did. And I want to compliment the DOE for changing their regulation from 90 days to 60 days for advanced payments. They made this change only 2 weeks after receiving my letter. However, I believe that an upfront cash advance of 30 days is a more reasonable policy, and that is what my amendment would require for a small business innovative research project. A 30-day cash advance from the small business is more in line with how bills actually get paid on a monthly basis. A 30-day advance payment addresses concerns raised by federal agencies about maintaining a positive cash balance while also lessening the burden on small businesses. Small businesses are the engine that drives our economy. Given our current fiscal crisis, it is more important than ever that we eliminate roadblocks to job creation. This amendment helps achieve that goal, and I urge my colleagues to support it and yield back the balance of my time.
I thank the gentleman, and I understand that you seek to ensure that small businesses are not overburdened by the federal government regulations that require them to advance a great deal of money up front. At a time when many businesses are strapped for cash to operate with, I think the gentleman's amendment provides some relief for those businesses that will participate in the programs of the bill. I support this amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same. Is there any other discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman,
Chair recognizes the gentlelady from Texas.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support the intent of this amendment. We do need to do all we can to encourage small businesses to team up with our national labs. The scientists and engineers in our national labs represent a tremendous resource and expertise that will further the ingenuity of our small businesses, and I applaud the gentleman for offering this amendment. Thank you.
Gentlelady yields back her time, and I want to thank the amendment and the member for this amendment. Is there further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment's agreed to. Are there other amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Our next amendment is offered from the gentleman from New Mexico, Mr. Lujan. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 016, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Lujan of New Mexico.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This
gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment would increase the set-aside amount to STTR over 3 years. I'm introducing this amendment to help bridge the divide separating small businesses from our R&D institutions. Over the years, the private sector has become increasingly isolated from our research institutions like universities and our national labs. This does not serve our nation well. It reduces the main commercial advantage of funding and performing basic research in the country. Other countries are taking our R&D output and turning new scientific discoveries and newly developed technological capabilities into new businesses and new products. We need to remove the isolation of these two communities in order for the U.S. to be more competitive. STTR requires partnerships between small businesses and research institutions and would encourage these relationships, which is why I think STTR programs need to be increased. Furthermore, this amendment makes economic sense as it would yield higher commercialization output. At the hearing the Technology and Innovation Subcommittee held a few weeks ago, Professor Siegel testified that studies have shown that a university connection to an SBIR project substantially increases the likelihood of successful commercialization. So by putting more funds into STTR projects, which require such partnerships, we'll be positioning the SBIR and STTR portfolio to generate more jobs and a better economy. As we truly understand, Mr. Chairman, the importance of partnering up small businesses with the research and development capabilities and capacity of the United States, especially those, the engineers most talented in our nation with our universities and national labs, it's incumbent that we truly look to programs that have shown some success and that have really positioned U.S. companies to take advantage of a technological revolution that we need to reinvigorate with the United States. With that, Mr. Chairman, I urge the adoption of this amendment.
Gentleman yields back his time. I thank the gentleman for his amendment. I'm concerned that the gentleman's amendment increases the size of the STTR program by 100% over the course of 3 years, growing the program from approximately $800 million a year to $1.6 billion a year at a time when most agencies' programs are facing flat budgets. The additional $800 million would be taken from the extramural research budgets of our federal agencies. I'm just not confident this big change is justified by any data that we have for the STTR program. Therefore, I must oppose the gentleman's amendment. Is there other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say no. No. The opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. Are there other amendments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at the desk.
The next amendment is offered by the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tonko. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 029, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Tonko of New York.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The intent of this amendment is to make certain that Phase 2 recipients can continue to use state and local organizations for commercialization assistance. It also ensures that they are aware that this flexibility is still possible even if agencies choose to contract with a national vendor for these services. It is my belief that state and local representatives are generally in a better position to assist companies through commercialization than a national contractor which may not be aware of the commercialization support services that are supported by and available through state technology-based economic development programs. State and local representatives can also introduce companies to other sources of collaboration and many other aspects required on that path to commercialization. While I believe that the flexibility language in this section allows recipients to exercise this option, I'm still concerned that they may not be aware of these options. However, I understand that there is a concern about the best way to address this issue and that the current amendment might not be the best solution. Mr. Chairman, I know that staffs have been talking. And if you would be willing to work with my office to address this issue, I would consider withdrawing the amendment.
I thank the gentleman, and I think the goal of the amendment was to ensure the state-based organizations with expertise in commercialization are able to support small businesses who have received SBIR awards. And I do certainly agree to work with you, and I think you have a good thrust, and we will, I certainly personally will, and I think this side of the docket will work, and I accept the fact that you withdraw the amendment at this time to work together at a later time.
Absolutely. I move to withdraw the amendment.
The amendment is withdrawn. Are there other amendments?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
All right, the next amendment is offered by the gentlewoman from Texas, Mrs. Johnson. You ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 031, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Ms. Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. Chair recognizes Mrs. Johnson on her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm offering this amendment today along with Congresswoman Wilson, and will ensure this will ensure that the agencies participating in the SBIR program have the resources they need to conduct necessary outreach activities. As we all know, the SBIR program is an important program for fueling technological innovation and spurring job creation. I believe that innovation can come from anywhere, and that all small businesses, just not a small subset of small businesses, are capable of developing new technologies. And I think that our chances of getting game-changing innovation are significantly increased if SBIR applicant pool is larger and more diverse. For these reasons, I believe we need to do a better job of reaching out to small businesses that have traditionally been underrepresented in this program. This amendment does just that. It provides the SBIR agencies with the resources they need to conduct outreach to small businesses in geographical areas that have been underrepresented in the program, including rural areas and areas with unemployment rates that exceed the national average. And it facilitates outreach to small businesses owned by women, minorities, and veterans. This amendment takes important substantive steps toward ensuring that SBIR program is available and accessible to all small businesses in the country. And in addition, as many of you are aware, one of the 4 stated congressional objectives of SBIR program is to increase participation by women and minority-owned businesses. This certainly has not been achieved. In its 2008 evaluation of the program, the National Research Council found that the program was having serious problems achieving this objective. It recommended that the targeted outreach be developed to improve the participation rates of women and minority-owned small businesses. This amendment follows through on its NRC recommendation, and I just want to take a moment to clarify a few points about this amendment. It is cost neutral. Congresswoman Wilson offered a very reasonable outreach amendment at the subcommittee markup based on a provision that was included in the bipartisan House bill from last Congress. That amendment was rejected on a party line vote based on negligible costs associated with the program. Based on the feedback received at the subcommittee markup, we developed a cost-neutral proposal. This does not include a mandate for agencies to spend money on outreach. Only those agencies that choose to participate in the administrative and oversight expenses pilot program will be required to set aside some money for these activities. The amendment also includes a waiver which allows SBA to exempt an agency from the requirement if it is appropriate and necessary to do so. While language was added at the subcommittee markup to encourage applications from the underrepresented small businesses, I firmly believe that we need to take our outreach efforts beyond a mere encouragement. If we truly are committed to the stated congressional goal of increasing participation by underrepresented groups in the SBIR program, we need to provide agencies with a formal mechanism to conduct outreach and technical assistance and give them the resources to do it. Chairman Hall, as you know, this is a very important issue to me, and it should be an important issue to all members of this committee. This amendment is motivated by nothing but the best intentions and represents a good faith attempt by me and Ms. Wilson to address the outreach challenges and to be as responsive as possible to the concerns we heard from the other side of the aisle in the subcommittee markup. And so I do urge you to consider the adoption of this amendment and yield back the balance of my time.
Thank the gentlelady. She yields back the balance of her time. And Chair thanks the gentlewoman from Texas for her amendment. The bill provides agencies the ability, I guess for the first time, to use some of their program funding to support outreach and other administrative activities. And I like the way the bill is currently worded, allowing agencies the ability to choose how these funds might be used. Each year, an agency could change how it wanted to spend. If it needed to look into some fraud allegations, it could do that. If it needed to provide targeted outreach to a certain group, it could do that. And if it really wanted to boost commercialization outreach, it probably could do that as well. Or it could do a little bit of all of it. However, I have some problems, and I'm inclined to oppose the ranking member's amendment because it would require a certain amount of funding to always go toward outreach to certain specific groups. And another thing, there are others that ought to be added to those groups, and I think outreach is important, but I don't like making it mandatory when it's already permitted. Unless we could work together and make some changes on this, and we discussed this personally, that I wanted, instead of shall, may go to those groups. And if we have specific groups, there would be some groups that I would like to add to that group. If the gentlelady wants to do that, or you can have the alternative that we can have the roll call vote as you choose.
Mr. Chairman, this is too important to just shaft it, I think. So I would love to work with you for some acceptable wording. I would like to know the additional groups you want to add.
Specifically, I want to add the disabled veterans, and they've been turned down in other.
We do have veterans listed. You want to add the word disabled?
And other disabled groups.
That's acceptable to me, to add other disabled groups. I know that the intent is not yours, but it is the intent of the behavior behind whoever's is to just kind of push this aside. This was one of the original intents of this legislation, and out of the spirit of attempting to be cooperative, I'm going to agree to work with you on any final wording of this provision. I don't think that my amendment is unreasonable, but I'm willing to work with you and whoever's pushing you to make this more acceptable.
It's just the things we discussed that I don't like making it mandatory, actually, when it's already permitted. But I'd listen to others. Are there others who want to be heard? And now, what is your request, Ms. Johnson, that we pull it down and work together on it as we go, or do you want to?
Yes, we can
You
do
want to
that.
have further discussion at this time?
Well, if anybody else wants to have discussion, I have no objection to that.
Rohrbacher, Chair recognizes you for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I join with you in your commitment to making sure if there is a list, that the list be a little bit more comprehensive than what was being presented. I would suggest that people with disabilities, I know there's a company in my district, the Sarah Corporation, that's run by a man who is in a wheelchair, a paraplegic, and he's had to overcome great obstacles to the success of his small business. And it's a research company that falls really within the arena of what we're talking about today. And I'm very proud to have worked with him in the past. And certainly I would think if we make a list, which is a big question, should we have lists of people of who specifically to reach out to, rather than just trying to say we're going to be fair to everybody. Certainly people with disabilities should be on that list, and I have an amendment to that effect. That would be the last amendment today, which may or may not be necessary, depending on your discussion at this moment. Thank you.
Mr. Gentleman,
Yield back.
Yield back. I guess we won't be positive that it's permissible and not mandatory. Is that?
Mr. Chairman.
Or do you want to work toward a solution?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to work toward a solution. If it's just permissible, that's permissible now, and it hadn't brought the results that this original legislation had intended. I have no problem with adding Mr. Rohrbacher's amendment, which adds to women, minorities, veterans, disabled, and who else? And 504, which is access for disabled person.
I still have the problem of it being mandatory. If it's may instead of shall, I'd withdraw my opposition to it. But if it's not, well, then the board could vote, the committee could vote on it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I be heard for
Mr. Chair.
recognized?
Chair recognizes the gentleman.
Well, I certainly appreciate your sentiment about including disabled veterans, very important, and other groups that might need help. But I must stick with the ranking member on the mandatory part of this. If it's just if it's not mandatory, people aren't going to do it. And I think the mandatory part will. It has been shown to be effective. There's groups that will be impacted. And I strongly urge my colleagues to consider how important it is to outreach to groups that may need help getting into the program. With that, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. Now, this committee has gone through bills where we attempted to add disabled groups, and they were turned down. I just think it's so important that they not eliminate of all the groups in the world, particularly at a day and time like this, disabled veterans who might want to apply. If
Mr. Chair.
what's the gentlelady's wishes?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Ms. Wilson. Chair recognizes Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Ranking Member Johnson. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, but I must say that I am disappointed. I'm disappointed that we could not resolve this issue at the subcommittee level before a full committee markup, and I will be more disappointed still if we cannot pass this amendment today. 3 weeks ago in the subcommittee markup of this bill, I offered an amendment similar to the one we are discussing now. It was simple. It was 8 pages of identical text, word for word, that was included in last year's reauthorization of the SBIR and STTR programs. Reauthorization that passed the House easily by a 300 to 86-41 vote. We all came to serve in the 112th conference to create jobs, jobs, jobs. This is the nation's #1 issue. I was shocked to find out, given the non-controversial nature of last year's bill, that a significant portion of it was eliminated before we even heard it this year, particularly the section establishing an outreach program at the Small Business Administration that would attract small businesses owned and controlled by women and minorities into the SBIR and STTR programs. To remedy that, I offered my amendment in subcommittee that reinserted the deleted text from last year's bill. The only concern I heard voiced before my amendment was voted down across partisan lines in subcommittee was that it was not revenue neutral. Well, I'm back. Ms. Johnson and I have solved that problem together, and we have come here today to ask your support for this amendment. This amendment achieves the same goal as the program that was eliminated from last year's bill, and it does so in a revenue neutral way. This is an important program. One of the stated objectives of the SBIR program is to foster the participation of women and minority-owned firms in technological innovation. Unfortunately, a 2008 assessment of the program by the National Research Council showed that federal agencies involved in the SBIR have not been successful in meeting this goal. At the National Science Foundation, the number of women-owned businesses receiving awards has remained flat for the past several years. Results when analyzing minority-owned firms receiving SBIR funds are even more troubling. Awards have stagnated across every agency, and at DOD the number has actually declined over time. This amendment here today addresses these concerns. It helps the SBIR program meet its objectives: jobs, jobs, jobs. Small businesses serve a vital role in our community. They are innovative and, more often than not, the principal source of new jobs. You never know where the next big idea will come from, and we must all do what we can to support the innovative potential of all small businesses and an innovative potential within all of our communities. To not approve this amendment would ignore and disenfranchise an important segment of our communities. It would deny access to jobs for those in rural areas, transportation-challenged communities, grandmothers, young people. All of us need jobs. My district has an unemployment rate that exceeds the national unemployment rate. Anything that we can do to help create jobs, I would appreciate it. I urge you to support this amendment. Jobs, jobs, jobs. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady, yield back her time. We're needing to get on closer to a vote on this. Is there anyone else? I don't want to deny anybody the right to speak.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I recognize the gentlelady from Texas.
As we have discussed this morning, it is my great intent to do all I can to work with you, Mr. Chair, as the leader of this committee. But the more I think about it, the more it's very difficult for me to put language in here that means nothing. We either want to do it or we do not want to do it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand the intent of this bill, and all we're trying to do is reach that intent so it can be meaningful to this nation. So I would just simply ask for an up or down vote on the amendment as submitted.
All right, gentlelady, yield back her time.
Mr.
I
Chairman.
want some clarification.
Yes, who seeks?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wu.
Thank you very much,
Chair
Mr. Chairman.
recognizes you for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Now that it is clear that our ranking member intends to seek a recorded vote, I do want to speak on this before we vote. It is very important. I have not always been a strong proponent of such provisions, but I want to speak very strongly on behalf of the gentlelady's proposal. First of all, it is revenue neutral, which was the primary objection which was raised at the subcommittee level, and that concern has been addressed. More importantly, I take it as good faith that it has been explained to me that there are members of the majority who are concerned that a list of some individuals necessarily excludes other individuals, other groups. And I understand that. And why should we pick out some groups? This is one of those fairness questions which is very difficult to address. But I have come to terms with this in the following way. It is not that we pick out some groups at the disadvantage of others, but historically it is the case that some programs and some subcultures, if you will, some business communities, some professions, have been going to certain groups and not others. And I don't necessarily think of this as any malintent. There may be, and I don't think there is, any bad intent on the part of anyone in the development of these patterns. What tends to happen is human nature. We look for people who are roughly like us, or even if not intentionally doing that, we travel in certain circles, and when we look for folks, we tend to find folks in those circles. It's not bad intent, it's human nature. That's how personal habit, business practice, professional practice tends to work. It is uncomfortable to push outside of those circles, and that is true of all of us. I think the gentlelady's amendment, like other efforts like it, in its best sense, is a strong effort to push us just a little bit beyond our standard comfort levels so that we will reach out to folks who have not been historically included. And once they are included, then even if we revert to those very human comfort levels, at least a few more groups have been included, even if we drop those provisions in the future. I think that's very, very important. And for those reasons, I intend to support the gentlelady's amendment today. I do wish that the ranking member and the chairman could work this out, but it seems like we are at loggerheads, and well, I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. Who seeks recognition?
Mr. Chairman, Chip Kravac, Minnesota, sir. Point of question. Does the current amendment in its current form exclude disabled American veterans?
It has veterans in it. Veterans period, so it's disabled and non-disabled.
No, it includes all veterans. It doesn't specify disabled. We went through that situation with the Competes bill, and they sent that to the Senate, and they took disabled veterans out and sent it back. And we tried to work with them. At that time, we were told we won. Now, I don't want to get into that, but we don't want to go for a mandatory solution here. We're not denying anything. I prefer to retain full agency flexibility, but not mandatory oversight. We have a philosophical difference here about how best to encourage outreach. And I'm willing to let it go to a vote.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Thank you very much.
I yield back my time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want the ranking member and the gentlelady from Florida have laudable goals for increased participation from those groups that are underrepresented in the SBIR and STTR programs. And during the subcommittee hearings and the markups that we had, one of the things that with the gentlelady from Florida's amendment that we did have a problem was that it wasn't revenue neutral. Now it has changed. It is revenue neutral, but it does have these mandates on the agencies that I am not comfortable with. And I think Chairman Hall really elucidated on that subject, because we don't want the agencies to be basically hamstrung to be how they use their administrative budgets accordingly. I think that they should be able to have the flexibility to address their concerns how they best see fit. And I think that the goals of this are good, and that is why we already have in the legislation where we require federal agencies to encourage applications from companies who have been historically underrepresented in the SBIR and STTR programs. So I will be opposing this amendment, but I do understand the ranking member's position and the gentleladies from Florida. I just fundamentally disagree with it. Thank you. I yield back.
Could I just ask for some clarification?
Recognize you for as much as you have to use of 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. The last thing I want to do is be an irritant, but I do feel very strongly that opportunities are noticed. This does nothing but request that they make an effort for outreach. It does not mandate them to do anything as a result of that, unless they find, of course, that through oversight there has not been an opportunity. It goes to the grain of many people to offer equal opportunity. I understand that. But historically in this nation, it's been a real strong pattern that opportunities have not been offered and outreach has not been made. And that's all this does. It does not mandate that they do anything but be sensitive to it and offer that opportunity. Of course, there are some who still might object to that. But the intent, the original intent of this legislation, that was a basic intent. And, it's a lot of things I do not understand, and I'll admit to that. I do not understand the objection to this amendment. But I feel negligent if I do not call attention to the intent that this legislation set out to do, and that was to be inclusive.
Will the gentlelady yield for?
Yes, I will yield.
Well, I just have a question. If it's not a mandate, then you shouldn't have any objection to the chairman's changing of the word from shall to may.
The difference is it's a waste of language to put it in here to may. They may do that now. This is a reminder that they shall make an opportunity to notice it.
Will the gentlelady yield?
Yes.
But if it isn't a mandate, a shall actually is a mandate. A may is not a mandate. So if it's not a mandate,
sir, let me just point this out. For 38 years, I've been in public service, and I do know the difference between shall and may. May is always out there, whether it's written or not. May has ruled this nation. May has been an opportunity for anybody to do anything they wanted to do, but it has not happened under May. And that's the only reason why shall reach for opportunities for outreach is put here. It doesn't say you got to give these people anything, but it does sensitize an agency to be sure that they've looked at it. And that's all it does. And if you look at the history of all of this, and I don't play with this stuff, and I don't do this for the purpose of trying to be insulting. It's a factual thing that women, minorities, or veterans have not been included. Perhaps they're not assertive enough, and many of them are not assertive because they never had the opportunity. But if there's an extra sheet of paper put there saying, this is open to you, then that is outreach. They frequently do put newspaper announcements. Many of them are putting a statement that equal opportunity, and that's usually enough. When people feel there's an equal opportunity, they will apply. If they don't, take it from me. I'm a 75-year-old black woman. If I feel I'm going to be insulted, I pass it on by. But if I think there's an equal opportunity and I can qualify, I might seek it. That's all this does. I'm from Waco, Texas. I understand all this. I've lived it.
Will the gentlelady yield for?
Yes.
With the consent of the ranking member, I would like to offer a second-degree amendment to the gentlelady's amendment and include the words "persons with disabilities" to the gentlelady's amendment.
That is accepted. I just said that to Mr. Rohrbacher. I have no objection to anybody who's been overlooked to get a notice that they are welcome to apply.
Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady's time has expired several times, and now I'm going to give it to you too if you ask for it. Mr. Rohrbacher recognizes.
Well, just to make my position clear, I personally and philosophically believe that such lists are not consistent with the way I think we should have honest and open government and fair government. Making lists of specific people is wrong. My amendment was because there are a lot of people who are suffering in this country and struggling in this country, and we should not be looking to reaching out to them based on their race or their sex or anything else. Now, somebody with disabilities can be of any sex and any race. And the fact is, we know that someone with a disability, we absolutely are aware that that person has gone through struggles. But when you try to say we should reach out to people and put on a list those people who are of a certain race or female as compared to male, we may be reaching out to people who have absolute benefits and actually have a advantageous position over other people who are struggling to get those same contracts. I mean, if you have a situation where someone comes from a very poor family and has struggled all their life, but someone else is going to be, you're going to reach out to someone else because they happen to be of a minority race, but their family is very wealthy, what we are doing is giving the advantaged person even more advantage. And that's why it's not proper. It's not proper to go about making racially based decisions. If we have lists, we might as well just have a list and just bring it down to what is really meant here. We can reach out to anybody but white males.
Would the gentleman yield?
Not quite yet. Let me finish my point. I'll be happy to. Why don't we just eliminate all this extra verbiage and just say that we want the government to reach out to everybody except white males? Well, why we wouldn't do that? Because it would obviously be racist. Well, it's racist to do this in the first place. My recommendation was people with disabilities, because we know that who's ever being helped is someone who actually has gone through a personal life struggle. But we don't know that of whether if someone is whether they're black Americans or Hispanic Americans or whether they could come from very wealthy families in competition with a white male who maybe came from a very deprived family.
Would the gentleman yield?
Yeah, I certainly will. Go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rohrbacher.
Do you yield to the gentlelady?
Yes, I did.
All right. Gentleman yields. I think you have about a minute and a half left.
Okay. I'll try to be brief. I never wanted this to come to the point of this kind of discussion, but it probably is necessary. And this does not mean to reach out to everybody but white males, because there's a lot of white males that are disabled and veterans. However, if you look at the history of this nation, it wouldn't have to be any outreach if there was anything but white males getting these opportunities. This is only a way of saying, make an opportunity, let the people other than white males, and white males too, because they already know it, that's who's getting it, to let them know that they can take advantage of these programs. It's amazing to me, absolutely incredibly amazing, why this came to this point. It reinforces why we need it in the first place. But the more I see the resistance, the more it concerns me that it's somewhere in this committee we've lost track of what this legislation was ever meant to be. But nonetheless, thank you, Mr. Rohrabacher. We've served on this committee together in the 19th year, and this is the first time we've gotten to a discussion where we had to talk about white males versus the rest of the world. Thank you.
Gentlelady yields back her time. The gentleman from California yield back your
Well,
time.
let me just note that at no point do I ever suggest that it is acceptable to judge people by their race. And whatever everyone's definition of racism is, it has to be including people who judge others by their race. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his
Mr.
time.
Chairman?
Excuse me. Who seeks recognition? Gentleman from Arizona.
From New Mexico, Mr. Chairman.
All right, recognize it. We have a vote on, and we've discussed this thing and discussed it, but I would like to hear from you if you'd quickly give us a 5-minute answer in about 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to accept Mr. Wu's secondary amendment.
Excuse me. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
You
to
can
ask
have your full
unanimous...
5 minutes now. We don't have a vote on, I'm told.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent that we accept Mr. Wu's secondary amendment.
We do. Is there objection? I have no objection to his second amendment.
Thank you, Mr.
Is
Chairman.
there objection? Does the chair hear objection? Chair hears none.
Mr. Chairman, with that being said, again, just to remind everyone here, I appreciate where the discussion went to really talk about veterans. To say that we should not require agencies to reach out to veteran-owned businesses with the sacrifices that they make every day of their lives and what they did for this great nation of ours, to see what we can truly do to make sure that they're going to be included, simply, as the amendment says, to reach out and to provide technical assistance, to provide a foundation for these companies, for these entrepreneurs, to be able to strengthen this great economy of ours. I think it's sad if we don't go down that line. We should do all that we can do to reach out to some of these organizations. And again, I appreciate that we've been talking about veteran organizations, veteran groups, veteran-owned businesses, veteran entrepreneurs, to see what we can do to reach out and work with them and get them included here, Mr. Chairman. And again, it's revenue neutral. As we talk about what needs to be done to get the economy growing again, and looking at language like this that allows us to work together to look after men and women of all races, of all creed, to be able to provide them that path forward, to seek out programs like SBIR and STTR that are great, I think is something important for us to consider. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I certainly encourage adoption of this amendment, which now includes disabled veterans, and I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. At this time, we will have a vote on the amendment as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. No. The noes have it. The noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. Now,
Recorded vote, Mr. Chair.
let me make this statement before we go any further. The gentlelady has accepted the persons with disability to include veterans with disabilities, but we still have the mandatory situation to deal with. I urge a no vote on this, and clerk will call a roll. No.
Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Smith. Mr. Rohrabacher. Mr. Rohrabacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Bartlett votes no. Mr. Lucas. Mrs. Biggert. Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken. Mr. Nagelbauer. Mr. Nagelbauer votes no. Mr. McCall. No. Mr. McCall votes no. Mr. Brown. No. Mr. Brown votes no. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams votes no. Mr. Quayle. No. Mr. Quayle votes no. Mr. Fleischman. No. Mr. Fleischman votes no. Mr. Ridgel. Mr. Ridgel votes no. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks. No. Mr. Brooks votes no. Mr. Harris. No. Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Holtgren. Mr. Holtgren votes no. Mr. Kravac. Mr. Kravac votes aye. Mr. Bouchon. Mr. Bouchon votes no. Mr. Benishek. Mr. Benishek votes no. Ms. Johnson.
Aye.
Ms. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Costello. Mr. Costello votes aye. Ms. Woolsey. Ms. Woolsey votes aye. Ms. Lofgren. Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu votes aye. Mr. Miller. Mr. Lipinski. Mr. Lipinski votes aye. Ms. Giffords. Ms. Edwards. Ms. Edwards votes aye. Ms. Fudge. Ms. Fudge votes aye. Mr. Lujan. Mr. Lujan votes aye. Mr. Tonko. Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney. Mr. McNerney votes aye. Mr. Sarbanes. Mr. Sarbanes votes aye. Ms. Sewell. Ms. Sewell votes aye. Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson votes aye. Mr. Clark. Mr. Clark votes aye.
Are there other members who wish to vote? All right. Clerk reports the vote.
Mr. Chairman, 15 members vote aye and 17 members vote no.
The amendment is not agreed to. Are there other amendments?
Mr. Chairman,
Who seeks recognition?
Mr. Lipinski.
Mr. Lipinski. All right, the next amendment is offered by the gentleman from Illinois. It's Mr. Lipinski. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk, report the amendment.
Amendment number 018, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Lipinski of Illinois.
Ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Chairman. Excuse me. Thank you, Chairman Hall, for your work in quickly advancing this critical bill. I've been a champion of SBIR and STTR programs since I've been in Congress, and I hope, assuming this bill passes the House in short order, that we can finally reach an agreement with the Senate. And that's why I was proud to join you in co-sponsoring this bill. While I believe both SBIR and STTR programs have worked well, I believe they do not do enough to support academic or national lab researchers who are founding a small business and trying to bring a new product to market. This means not only building a successful prototype, it also means market research, developing an intellectual property strategy, and investigating commercial or business opportunities. Without guidance and help in the early phases of commercialization, many small businesses will never get off the ground. My amendment would address this problem by creating a new pilot program within STTR at the National Institutes of Health. This idea is based on the testimony of one of the witnesses in a hearing held before the Technology and Innovation Subcommittee at the end of March. Mr. Crowell described University of Virginia's successful Proof of Concept program, which helps researchers identify the most promising markets and direct their small business accordingly. This program, which is funded by a grant from the Coulter Foundation, has generated a 5-to-1 overall return on investment. This is not the only example of a successful Phase 0 program. The European Research Council funds a similar initiative, and the Deshpande Center at MIT also includes some of these activities. This amendment will require the NIH to allocate $10 million from within its STTR program to at least 10 grants that would go to universities or other research institutions, including national labs. These institutions would in turn use the grants to run proof of concept programs modeled after successful examples I've mentioned. Within a proof of concept program at a research institution, small grants would be awarded to individual researchers to support translational proof of concept work, including market analysis and mentoring. Critically, the proof of concept programs would be required to use an industry project management board composed of local technical and business experts. This board would monitor the progress of grant recipients, imposing market-driven milestones and reporting requirements. The board should also be quick to terminate any failing projects. My amendment would bring an idea that has succeeded with other funding sources to the STTR program through a limited pilot program at the NIH. It's an idea that has improved commercialization outcomes whenever it's been tried, and it's worth trying here. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
I thank the gentleman for yielding back his time, and actually, I'll yield myself 5 minutes. The amendment would take 13% of the STTR funds at the National Institute of Health's STTR program and redirect them to the university commercialization activities. That's what I understand the gentleman to be saying. And while I recognize that it's challenging for universities to achieve effective technology transfer, I'm concerned that this amendment supports that effort at the cost of small businesses, who are currently the lead partner on the STTR grant. Indeed, this bill is primarily a small business innovation bill. And most important, I don't think it's appropriate to divert money away from small businesses under this bill. Further, under this amendment, the NIH director would make awards to a university or research institution and allow the institution to fund individual grants. Traditionally, NIH has provided awards directly to principal investigators after their applications have undergone a rigorous peer review process. I'm concerned that the awards under this amendment would not be held to the same rigorous standards. While I agree that we should be promoting effective technology transfers at our colleges, universities, and research institutions, I don't believe this is the proper vehicle to achieve that goal. For these reasons, I oppose the gentleman's amendment. Are there others? Is there further discussion on the amendment? I yield back my time. Yes. Gentlelady from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to first thank my colleague, Mr. Lipinski, for offering this amendment. It is well known and has been, we've heard testimony time and time again, that there does in fact exist a valley of death, where technologies are stuck between research and commercialization, with insufficient resources to pull them through. Mr. Lipinski's amendment would help address this problem by creating a pilot program for the early proof of concept stage of research and development. Moreover, it would help build the infrastructure of expertise and will facilitate the cultural change necessary for the transfer of technology from the university setting to the marketplace. Let's take a look at NIH. Ohio is one of the states hit hardest by this economic recession, but it is also one of the fastest growing regions in bioscience. Last fiscal year, the Ohio State University, which is my alma mater, had $124 million in NIH research expenditures, which supported 2,500 jobs. Case Western Reserve University, in my district, received $185 million in NIH and NIH-ARA funds. Additionally, from 2000 to 2009, 170 companies were created, small businesses, from SBIR, STTR awards, and the majority of them were in Northeast Ohio. Mr. Lipinski's amendment will grow that number and enable technology commercialization across the nation by making these R&D dollars more effective. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I would like to yield the balance of my time to my colleague, Mr. Lujan.
I thank my colleague, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Mr. Lipinski as well for bringing this important topic forward. As you know, I'm a proponent of technology transfer, and one of the significant roadblocks for technology transfer from universities and national labs is the lack of funding for proof of concept work, including technology maturation, prototype development, technical validation, and market research. All of this is needed in order to attract business partners or capital for new technology. One of the roadblocks that groups, organizations, especially small businesses and entrepreneurs talk about is that there's no support to take basic technology innovation to mature it, to commercialize it, to attract investors, or to help get it out of this valley of death. And this is something that we hear from not only during our hearings during Markup, but I hear when I go home and I talk to our entrepreneurs. When those small business groups come and visit with us here in our offices, here in hearing rooms, this is one area that I think there's full agreement with. And so this pilot program looks to be an effective way at testing our method, a method, for lowering the roadblock to commercialization. And as we put ourselves back on a track to an innovative economy, to being able to attract more manufacturing here in the U.S., to help these entrepreneurs be able to move this technology forward, we need programs like this. So again, I applaud the efforts of my colleague. I fully support it, and I certainly hope that we can support small businesses to be able to accelerate their ability to take these innovative ideas and take them to the marketplace. With that, I yield back to my colleague from Ohio.
Gentleman yields back. Is there further request? Gentlelady yields back her time.
Mr. Chairman,
Who seeks recognition?
Mr. Lipinski.
The author recognize you, Mr. Lipinski. Go ahead. I recognize you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Hall. I'll make this quick. I want to thank you again for all your work on this bill, and also thank Chairman Quayle for his work. We all clearly want to support small business, but we do know that we have not only great research institutions, universities, but the great research that's going on in our national labs that is out there. It's unfortunate that we don't see enough of what is found in the lab brought to the market. And I think this is critical for the future of our country, building more small businesses, creating more jobs. And this would not be taking money away from small businesses. It would be helping to create more small businesses. And I think doing a pilot program, setting aside a little bit of money to do that, we would only go to universities, national labs that have proven that they have programs in place that have helped researchers to start up companies. So we will have that. There's no reason to believe that they will be using this money unwisely. They will have to have a proven track record of what they have done. And then we can see, we can evaluate after the pilot program is done if it has been successful. So again, I want to thank you, Chairman Hall, for your work on this legislation, and I just want to urge my colleagues to support this to help us create those small businesses that we all know are critical for our country.
And
I yield back.
And gentleman yields back. And I thank the gentleman for his input, and I know the gentleman's intention is sincere. I disagree with him that this is a small business bill, and it does take money from small businesses. I suggest that universities, colleges are great to support, and recognize the gentleman's knowledge about their needs, and he represents his district well. But I disagree with him on what this is a small business bill, and I don't think we ought to divert any of the funds otherwise. Is there anyone else wants to be heard? All right. If not, then we will vote on the amendment. Those opposed, those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Those who oppose, say no. Chairman believes the noes have it.
Chairman,
the noes have it. The chair recognizes a motion from
ask for a recorded vote.
Yes. Clerk will, record vote is called for. Clerk will call a roll.
Chairman Hall.
Vote no.
Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Smith. Mr. Roybacher. Mr. Roybacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Lucas. Mrs. Biggert. Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken. Mr. Nagelbauer. Mr. Nagelbauer votes no. Mr. McCall. Mr. McCall votes no. Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown votes no. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams votes aye. Mr. Quayle. Mr. Quayle votes no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman votes no. Mr. Ridgel. Mr. Ridgel votes no. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks. Mr. Brooks votes no. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Holtgren. Mr. Holtgren votes no. Mr. Kravac. Mr. Kravac votes no. Mr. Bouchon. Mr. Benishek. Mr. Benishek votes aye. Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Costello. Ms. Woolsey. Ms. Woolsey votes aye. Mrs. Lofgren. Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu votes aye. Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Miller votes aye. Mr. Lipinski. Mr. Lipinski votes aye. Ms. Giffords. Ms. Edwards. Ms. Edwards votes aye. Ms. Fudge. Ms. Fudge votes aye. Mr. Lujan? Mr. Lujan votes aye. Mr. Tonko? Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney? Mr. McNerney votes aye. Mr. Sarbanes? Mr. Sarbanes votes aye. Ms. Sewell? Ms. Wilson? Ms. Wilson votes aye. Mr. Clark? Mr. Clark votes aye.
Are there other members who wish to vote?
Mr. Costello votes aye.
Are there others? All right, the clerk will report the roll call.
It's okay. You got 16? Mr. Chairman, 16 members vote aye and 14 members vote no.
What?
We both have 16. We're good.
Amendment is agreed to. Are there other amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
All right. Next amendment's offered by the gentleman from New York, and we just have 3 more to go, I think. Mr. Tonko, are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, I am, sir.
All right, clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 035, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Tonko of New York.
All right, the gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes to report the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After meeting with many constituents and reviewing the National Academy's report on the SBIR program, it is clear to me we should be doing more at NIH to help all types of companies to commercialize their products that they have developed in the SBIR program at NIH. Most of the discussion about opening the entire SBIR program seems to be coming from companies that participate or would like to participate in the SBIR program at NIH. To address the concerns of these companies, I have offered this amendment. It would create a pilot program within NIH. This program would provide funding to any SBIR Phase 2 recipient companies from 2007 through 2008 equal to their Phase 2 award through a competitive process for the purposes of commercialization. Funds would be awarded to eligible companies for the purpose of commercialization. A key process in the product development phase, this commercialization funding, would enable the companies to quickly hire additional help and move their product to market. The valley of death is real, and the pilot program I have proposed here aims at eliminating that valley of death for SBIR companies awarded through NIH. Their success and developments to date are often credited to the SBIR program. However, this amendment would make the most important leap, taking the idea from a lab or research center and launching the product to market, creating real jobs and real economic growth. This concept originated with small businesses in my district, which came to me with the desire to grow and create more jobs. They recognize and feel that the pressure of the valley of death each and every day. This pilot program can be used to attempt a new innovative approach. We use the years 2007 and 2008 as a baseline because it is the product developed in these years that the products developed in these years that are ready to be commercialized today. I urge members of the committee to support this amendment, Mr. Chair, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back the balance of his time, and I thank the gentleman. At a time when our nation's facing very significant deficits, I think it's inappropriate to authorize such a large program that we've not fully examined. One of the strengths of H.R. 1425 is that it does not authorize any additional funding. Instead, the SBIR and STTR programs are funded through set-asides from existing agency research budgets. This amendment would add $538 million in new spending, which we just can't afford at this time. I oppose this amendment and urge my colleagues to do so. Is there further discussion on the amendment? Chair hears none. Hearing no further discussion, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye.
Mr. Chair, I'd request a recorded vote, please.
A recorded vote is recorded. Let me finish with the first vote first.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The noes have it.
Mr. Chair, I move for a recorded vote, please.
Recorded votes recalled. The clerk will please call the roll.
Yes.
In a hurry.
Chairman Hall.
No.
Chairman Hall votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner. Mr. Smith. Mr. Roybacher. Mr. Roybacher votes no. Mr. Bartlett. Mr. Lucas. Mrs. Biggert. Mrs. Biggert votes no. Mr. Aiken. Mr. Nagelbauer. Mr. Nagelbauer votes no. Mr. McCall. Mr. McCall votes no. Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown votes no. Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams votes no. Mr. Quayle. Mr. Quayle votes no. Mr. Fleischman. Mr. Fleischman votes no. Mr. Ridgel. Mr. Ridgel votes no. Mr. Palazzo. Mr. Palazzo votes no. Mr. Brooks. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris votes no. Mr. Holtgren. Mr. Holtgren votes no. Mr. Kravac. Mr. Kravac votes no. Mr. Bouchon. Mr. Benishek. Mr. Benishek votes no. Ms. Johnson. Aye. Ms. Johnson votes aye. Mr. Costello. Mr. Costello votes aye. Ms. Woolsey. Aye. Ms. Woolsey votes aye. Ms. Lofgren. Mr. Wu. Aye. Mr. Wu votes aye. Mr. Miller. Aye. Mr. Miller votes aye. Mr. Lipinski. Mr. Lipinski votes aye. Ms. Giffords. Ms. Edwards. Ms. Edwards votes aye. Ms. Fudge. Ms. Fudge votes aye. Mr. Lujan. Mr. Lujan votes aye. Mr. Tonko. Mr. Tonko votes aye. Mr. McNerney. Mr. McNerney votes aye. Mr. Sarbanes. Mr. Sarbanes votes aye. Ms. Sewell. Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson votes aye. Mr. Clark.
Others who wish to vote. Clerk, report the vote, please.
Mr. Chairman, 13 members vote aye and 15 members vote no.
The amendment is not agreed to. There are further amendments.
Mr. Chairman.
Who seeks Dr. Brown, recognize you for your amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Give me some. All right, the next amendment is amendment number 22, an amendment offered by the gentleman from Georgia. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk, report the amendment.
Amendment number 022, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Brown of Georgia.
All right, I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, so ordered. Gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My amendment would respond to recent reviews by Inspector General Community, which found that the SBIR and STTR programs were vulnerable to certain kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse. While H.R. 1425 already takes a number of positive steps to address these vulnerabilities, my amendment would add provisions to make it easier for SBIR agencies and other auditors to detect waste, fraud, and abuse. The amendment would standardize several requirements which some agencies already require of the SBIR and STTR grant recipients. Most notably, the amendment requires applicants and awardees to certify the statements they make in their applications and reports. These certifications make it easier for law enforcement to hold accountable applicants who make false statements to win SBIR awards or receive SBIR payments. My amendment makes a series of mostly technical changes to H.R. 1425's waste, fraud, and abuse provisions. The purpose of these changes is to strengthen the bill's already robust waste, fraud, and abuse provisions. Many of these suggestions have come from the Council of Inspectors Generals for Integrity and Efficiency Working Group that has been examining fraud in the SBIR and STTR programs. I would like to recognize Senators Grassley and Rockefeller, for initiating a parallel amendment to the Senate legislation, and I hope that both houses of Congress will include similar language prior to conference in this legislation. I urge my colleagues to support improving mechanisms to detect and reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in these programs, and to support my amendment. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and I thank the gentleman for his amendment. I think it's a good addition to the bill. One of the most important duties we have as a committee is to ensure proper oversight of the programs over which we have jurisdiction. This is the best way to ensure that vital taxpayer dollars are not wasted. I think this amendment will assist in ensuring that the SBIR and STTR programs are being properly administered at the federal agencies, and I support it. Are there others who wish to be heard?
Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes the gentlelady from Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, I have a second-degree amendment at the desk. It's been shared with the majority.
Where is it? Give me my second degree. All right. Clerk will distribute the amendment. Okay, so we all get it. Yep. All right, the clerk shall report the amendment.
Amendment number 010, amendment offered by Ms. Edwards of Maryland to the amendment offered by Mr. Brown of Georgia.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading. Without objection, it's so ordered. Gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes to explain her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank and congratulate Dr. Brown, Mr. Brown, on his amendment. He's really taken up, I think, a really important area of accountability and transparency, and I join him in supporting these set of provisions. In fact, had he not offered them, I was looking also at what the Senate leaders have done and wanted to make sure that we did the same thing in the House, and so, Mr. Brown, thank you. I'm offering the amendment, and my intent is really to ensure that we entrust the enforcing and anti-fraud provisions of the program. The Inspectors General and Justice Department, we want to make sure that they have adequate tools to punish those who commit fraud against the government and taxpayer. We really should give credit to Senator Rockefeller, who has done most of the lion's share work on fraud and misuse of SBIR grants. And the language that's offered today is almost identical to an amendment drafted by the senators, and but that shouldn't detract at all from our consideration of that here in the House and in this committee. Credit also has to go to the Inspectors General at the National Science Foundation and NASA, particularly Allison Lerner, the NSF IG, has been a leading voice on the need to insert a lot more managerial rigor into the SBIR program, and I'm happy to follow their advice on how to proceed. According to the National Science Foundation Inspector General, one issue that's been particularly vexing is a lack of ongoing certification by the SBIR recipients that they are doing the work they applied to do, and that they're not basically double dipping, duplicating funding from other agencies. The NSF already requires such certifications in their applications for Phase 1 and Phase 2 awards, as well as at the time of interim and final reports. And the question is, do we require those same sort of certifications so that we strengthen the hands of enforcement authorities to make sure that they're able to actually prosecute waste, fraud, and abuse when it occurs? And what we've heard from both the Inspectors General and from the Department of Justice is that they lack that tool, and lacking the certification where the recipient would have to check off a certain amount of boxes, not anything that's particularly onerous, indicating that they're not double dipping, that they're not submitting for duplicate funds in that certification process. Then when the prosecutor finds that there might be waste, fraud, or abuse, or the Inspector General does, there's some teeth in terms of enforcing the requirements of the grant. And so NSF at the IG, and they have a report on this, and they found that without that certifications and agencies requiring it, the Justice Department is actually reluctant to pursue fraud cases, and that's the purpose of this amendment, is to require the certification, require the recipient to check off the boxes in the normal SBIR process, so it's not any more onerous. It's a one-sheet form of certifications, and then that gives the enforcement authorities the tools that they need in case there's fraud going on. So I offer the amendment in the spirit of actually perfecting Dr. Brown's well-intentioned provision, and my language that's been worked out with the Inspector General makes it clear that the new rules on certification will require certification at every stage of a project, and that the certifications will include attestations that the people and firms paid to do the work are actually doing the work for which they submitted, and they provide a firm disclosure if they have pursued or are pursuing funding from other agencies for the same or similar work. And so I want to thank you very much, and I know that many members might be concerned, some members might be concerned that it adds to the burden, but it can already be a part of the SBIR process, and NSF has found that, you know, you have the form in there, the certification is done, and then the grant is pursued. And so I'd appreciate consideration of this amendment to an already really strong set of provisions, and I hope that Dr. Brown, you'd accept it, and that members of the committee would. And with that, I'd yield.
Gentlelady yields, and I thank her for her statement. I appreciate the gentlelady's desire to add to the content of Dr. Brown's amendment with a second-degree amendment. However, as we've only just received this amendment during the markup, I'm inclined to oppose this amendment, as members are not being provided enough time to review the contents and implications of the gentlelady's amendment to Dr. Brown's amendment. We attempt to avoid last-minute situations like these by the use of a roster, knowing that members do have the ability to craft second-degree amendments at any point during the markup. Committee policy and the spirit of comity dictates that the members be provided sufficient time to review, inquire about, and research language to be adopted by the underlying bill. As the gentlelady's amendment is time-stamped 5:34 p.m. last evening, it would have gone a long way to the cooperative process had the Republican committee staff and Dr. Brown's staff been apprised of the gentlelady's desire to add to Dr. Brown's amendment. As I'm concerned about including language not fully vetted by the members, I'd ask that the gentlelady withdraw her amendment and possibly work with Dr. Brown prior to this bill going to the floor. Yield back my time.
Mr. Chairman?
I beg your pardon.
Ms. Edwards.
Ms. Edwards.
Mr. Chairman, let me just say I really appreciate that, and I would be willing to withdraw it and work with Dr. Brown. You know, just because of logistics between Dr. Brown and myself, I only had a chance to actually speak with him this morning and had fully intended to do that yesterday, but we were unable to have that conversation. And so I appreciate that, and I think that this is consistent with Dr. Brown's approach, and would look forward to working with him, withdrawing the amendment, and making sure that it could be included.
I don't question your genuine sincerity. Dr. Brown, recognize you for an acceptance of this gentlelady's suggestion, which I suggest you accept.
Mr. Chairman, I accept your suggestions to accept the lady's suggestions that she and I work together. In fact, she and I work together on about a lot of issues. She's my ranking member on my O&I subcommittee. I have a tremendous respect for her and enjoy working with her. And I do look forward to working the details out with this. The secondary amendment actually just lists the certification process, where as the amendment itself would put in place a certification, but this just enumerates what those certifications are. And I'm very eager to work with the lady from Maryland to work this out so that it's to everyone on the committee's satisfaction. So I agree.
I thank the gentleman. Gentlelady has withdrawn her second-degree amendment 0.10. Is there further discussion on the amendment offered by the gentlelady from a gentleman from Georgia? Hearing none, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The yeas have it. The amendment is agreed to. Are there any other amendments for
Mr. Chairman?
What purposes gentlemen seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Yeah, the next amendment is offered by the gentleman from New Mexico, Mr. Lujan. Are you ready to proceed with your amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 018, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Lujan of New Mexico.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading without objection. It's so ordered. Recognize the gentleman from New Mexico for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment would add the STTR program to the National Research Council's ongoing study. Following the agreement between myself and Chairman Quayle at the subcommittee markup, our offices worked together and we came up with language that would be acceptable to both the majority and the minority. A study of the STTR program is long overdue. The most recent examination of the STTR program was a 2001 GAO report, which was used for the 2001 reauthorization of the program. However, the report was based off of 102 Phase 2 projects from 1995 to 1997, only the first 3 years of this project. So the past 14 years of STTR awards experience is left unexamined. I think it's important that we look at it. It's imperative that a study of this program be performed as part of our congressional oversight, and I thank Chairman Quayle and the committee staff for their cooperation in drafting acceptable language, and I urge adoption of this amendment. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank the gentleman, and I certainly thank the gentleman from New Mexico for his interest in evaluating the STTR program, and appreciate that we were able to work between subcommittee and full committee, and I think that is the understanding of the chairman of the subcommittee, on an amendment establishing strong evaluation mechanisms for the program. I'm pleased to support the gentleman's amendment. Are there other discussion? Is there further discussion? Chair hears none, so at this time, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. Are there further amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Gentleman from California has an amendment. Are you ready to proceed, Mr. Rohrabacher?
I am.
Clerk will report the amendment.
Amendment number 014, amendment to H.R. 1425, offered by Mr. Rohrabacher of California.
I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading without objection. It's so ordered.
Mr. Chairman, may I describe what my amendment is?
I recognize you for 5 minutes. If you can't describe it in 5 minutes, I'll consider another 5 minutes.
All right. Well, we've had the debate a little bit earlier on this idea of lists. My amendment would modify language offered in the subcommittee by Representative Lujan, which states that federal agencies shall encourage SBIR and STTR applications from a number of different types of small businesses. The current list includes small businesses located in rural areas with high unemployment, small businesses owned by women, veterans, or minorities, and my amendment would add small businesses owned and operated by individuals with disabilities. And as I mentioned earlier with the earlier debate, I would prefer not having lists. It seems to me that we should be encouraging people who are struggling to improve their lives regardless of their race, regardless of their sex. That makes every sense to me, and certainly trying to give someone a preference and reaching out to people who are of a race or sex that is being targeted for helping or whatever, to try to give a helping hand. If those particular women or those particular minority people happen to be from wealthy families, we aren't doing anybody any justice. So I would prefer no lists at all. But if we have to have lists, putting people with disabilities on that list is the one that really makes sense. Because someone with a disability, whether they're a woman or a minority, those people have a personal struggle that they have to go through in order to succeed in the business world and in small business, et cetera, and in this innovative world that we're trying to promote. So while my amendment seeks to promote a broader pool of applicants for the agencies involved, I think that it's fair to, if we're going to do that, let's put people with disabilities on that list. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. I thank the gentleman for his amendment. I think it's a good addition to the bill. I share the gentleman's concern about leaving people out and creating lists that might tend to ignore an important group that needs assistance. I think the gentleman has highlighted one such group with his amendment. And it's my hope that the agencies would try to encourage applications from as many diverse individuals as possible. We never know where the next great ideas and innovations will come from. That's what makes us a great country. I support the gentleman's amendment and urge my colleagues to do the same.
Question.
Is there anyone else seek recognition?
Yes.
Gentlelady from Dallas, recognize you for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. This amendment is intended to stand alone and not include any other language. Initially.
Yes.
Okay. Because there is no other language in the bill, and I was wondering. What's your initial statement was to add it to the other?
Gentlelady, yield back.
Yes, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Are there other seeking? All right. Hearing no further, the vote occurs on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say no. The ayes have it, and the amendment's agreed to. Are there other amendments? Hearing none, the questions on the bill, H.R. 1425, the Creating Jobs Through Small Business Innovation Act of 2011, as amended. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chairs, the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The bill, I will now recognize myself for a motion on the bill. I move that the committee favorably report H.R. 1425 as amended to the House with the recommendation that the bill do pass. Furthermore, I move that staff be instructed to prepare the legislative report and make necessary technical and conforming changes, and that the chairman take all necessary steps to bring the bill before the House for considerations. Questions on the motion to report the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution supported. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Now, members may have 2 subsequent calendar days in which to submit supplemental, minority, or additional views on the measure with receipt of such by 10 a.m. Monday, May the 9th. I move, pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 22 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, that the committee authorizes the chairman to offer such motions as may be necessary in the House to adopt and pass H.R. 1425, the Creating Jobs Through Small Business Innovation Act of 2011, as amended. Without objection, is so ordered. This concludes our full committee markup. And Chairman declares this full committee adjourned. I'm going to rush to my deal.
Yep.